Welcome back to the channel. Part 2. Trade Wars. Europe competes. Africa burns 1600s-1700s plus the way forward in the 1600s. A new storm began to brew along the coasts of West Africa. But this wasn't just a storm of wind and rain. It was a storm of flags, cannons, and cold ambition. Europe had tasted African gold and now they wanted more. They would stop at nothing to get it. And so began the race for riches, power, and sadly, human suffering. First came the Dutch with the rise of the Dutch West India Company, a global machine powered by merchants and monarchs. Then the British responded with their own creation, the Royal African Company, stamped with the English crown. The French joined in too, hungry for profit and power. What followed was not trade, it was war, over roots, over power, over people. To win the trade war, these companies turned Africa into a battlefield. Coastal kingdoms, once at peace, now fought as allies of Europe, taking on anyone who blocked their access to the riches beneath the waves. Tribes were armed with European guns, supplied by the same Europeans who claimed to be shocked when those guns were turned against them. Rum flowed like rivers, mixing with blood. Kings were promised power, but only if they delivered bodies, many bodies. So raids and rebellions became the order of the day. Brothers took up arms against brothers. Slave hunts shattered villages. Ancient alliances collapsed under the weight of greed. Markets bloomed where captives were auctioned off like cattle, sold to work on plantations in the Americas. Meanwhile, massive forts like Elmina, Cape Coast, and Goree stood like castles on the shore, imposing structures that imprisoned the dreams of millions. Inside, thousands of Africans waited in darkness, packed into cells, sold by force, betrayal, or desperation. These were the warehouses of human cargo, the first pages of a long nightmare. And the so-called trading companies didn't just trade. They ruled, they taxed, they killed. Long before colonization officially began, these companies acted like empires in disguise, with no mercy, no borders, and no concern for the lives they shattered. But this story matters because Africa's suffering didn't begin with colonization. It began with competition, with trade dressed as conquest, with a world that saw Africa not as a home, but as a prize to be won. To truly heal, we must trace our wounds back to this point, the point where the so-called civilized world set foot on African soil with guns, with greed, and with God. For it was here, in this period of supposed enlightenment, that the foundations of our collective suffering were laid. Until we understand this, until we acknowledge the full story of our past, we will never understand the chains we were made to wear. But history is not just pain, it is also power. If we choose to learn from it, the same weapons used to divide us can be reversed through truth, unity, and strategy. Educate our youth. Let them know Africa's true story, not just what the colonizer wrote. Control our resources, the gold, the oil, the cocoa, the cobalt. They belong to the people, not outsiders seeking to enrich themselves. Build together, not by tribes, but as a continent, Africa united, not divided. Invest in African innovation. Support African businesses. Write African stories and let them be told. Support African filmmakers and creatives. Africa must rise, not with chains, but with choices, with vision, with truth. We were sold? Yes, but we are not for sale anymore. We are not for sale anymore. Let the children of Africa remember this. The trade war is over. It's time to win the peace. Until we understand this, we can never fully understand the chains we were made to wear. Part 3. Coming soon. Thank you for watching Bukati Productions. Please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe.